are looking for Todd and Ben. If you find them, please tell them to go on the Tuesday Night Hangout podcast and log in for the show.
Hey guys, welcome to the Tuesday Night Hangout. This is going to be a really good show. Got a a couple of guys here from Resurgence, and I'd like to welcome Brian and Will right away. Hey guys, how you doing?
All right. Awesome.
All right. Tonight we have Todd from Resurgence PPG, and we have Ben. And they're going to be talking about the Resurgence program. So, Todd, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing, and then Ben, I want to talk about you and your story. And
Sure.
Well, as you guys know, I am Todd Scandrett. I'm a paramotor pilot. I like soft jazz and long walks on the beach.
A gentle lover as well.
I'm very gentle lover. I've got soft hands, and I'm known for wonderful hugs and the willingness to cuddle.
Willingness, more like a militant demand for cuddling.
Listen, as long as you don't say no.
Nice.
We don't really have a choice.
No, so I am the founder and I guess president of Resurgence PPG, and our mission and goal is to engage and involve adaptive veterans and get them involved in the adventure sport of powered paragliding. So we started about 4 years ago, and we, obviously this is a niche sport, and we've been growing slowly and steadily, and we're happy to announce that we just completed the sponsorship of our 25th alumni 2 weeks ago.
That's cool.
Yeah, so we're pretty proud of that. And the big thing is, I mean, this whole process really it leans on the paramotor community. We've been able to do this because the paramotor community is willing to support it. The paramotor community is willing to support adaptive and disabled veterans. You guys see the mission as being necessary and worthwhile. And, for that, I can't thank you guys enough, because without you guys, without shows like this, without people being out there to be an advocate for us, it wouldn't happen. So to all the supporters and everybody that's donated, thank you guys, because you guys made it happen.
Yes, thank you very much.
I think we all need to thank you guys for your service that you guys did, and I think the paramotor community will do whatever we can do to support you guys.
And that's true. And I've had the huge benefit of going to so many fly-ins and meeting so many great people. It's one of those crazy things that if you're a paramotor pilot and you've been to one fly-in, you realize that the community is so much better and so much stronger than what it looks like on social media. We see the drama and all the issues that pop up on, Facebook and whatnot. And, unfortunately that's not what this community is. I mean, you go to fly-ins or other events and you see the support that we get. It's amazing, and, I guess I was just lucky when I had this idea and, this epiphany that came to me that said, hey, this might be something that could work. And now it seems it has, and we've really, I think we've hit on something special for the entire community.
Yeah. Well, 25 people have gone through your program.
Yep.
So tell us how that works. Tell us how the nominations, the funding, how does all that work?
Okay, so to the funding piece, I get on social media and I make posts and I come on shows like this and I beg, plead, and grovel for money. I do it to the point that I'm sure everybody's sick of hearing me, ask for donations and asking for people to step up. But that's the lifeblood. That is what keeps us going, and that's what makes it possible for us to do what we do. The nomination process it's an application on our website, resurgenceppg.com. Individuals that find out about our program, they can go to the website, click on the nomination page, fill out the questionnaire, and it asks things like it's general contact information. There's some information, health related questions about the nominee, and then there's space for a narrative. And it's in that narrative that I'm able to learn about that nominee. And that's kind of where I am able to make the determination on whether the individual would really benefit from our program. And it's tough because, I mean, we have an unbelievable wait list right now. I've got so many applications in, and we just don't have the funding to meet that need. So I have to be very selective in, who I pick to sponsor and train. But I look at a couple things. One is, do I believe the program will be beneficial to that individual? And what I mean by that is I try to pick individuals that I believe will stick with the sport, that they will buy in and they will make the investment to stay in the sport because we're making a huge investment in them. And then, I look at, geographically, is there a school or are there instructors close by, or is there a flying community close by that we'll be able to get them partnered up with local mentors, so they can truly become a part of the paramotor community outside of Resurgence. They'll have people close to home that will get to know them, that will get to know their story and understand, what they've been through in their journey into the sport. And, the other thing is, will they make an impact within the Resurgence group? Because there's a huge side to all of this that goes unseen. And it's something that Ben might touch on, might speak on. But on the backside of all this, the brotherhood and the community of Resurgence alumni, I think that is my proudest achievement. We are a pretty tight, very close group of guys. And we got a Discord chat, we've got a Facebook Messenger chat, and it's daily. We're on there chatting with each other, giving each other advice, and the vast majority of what we talk about is not paramotor related. It's life related. And that's what's so important about what we're doing is, we are providing that connection back to the military service and a military brotherhood that so many of us miss out on once we separate from service and we transition into the civilian world. And, getting to know the guys, getting to know their families and, their idiosyncrasies and, truly what they like, what they don't like, what motivates them, what their concerns are. That's huge. And it's that part of this program that we don't advertise a lot, and it doesn't get a lot of credit, but that's actually where we truly are saving lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if that makes any sense.
I think, Todd, I think we may have lost some people here. Nope, there they are.
Nope, we're back.
Yeah, we're still here.
Oh, I was ready to carry the show.
We'll go ahead and go from here then.
Yeah, Will, you got any questions?
Yeah, I mean the whole story, Todd, of how you came up with the idea of Resurgence, and you've got a powerful story, I think, a personal story as far as, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, isn't the paramotor that what helped you overcome some things, or?
Oh yeah, no doubt.
So how did that all come about?
So we've got to venture back to 2007. I was on my deployment to Iraq, and I had suffered a heart attack in Baghdad. Surprisingly, during combat, having a heart attack in Baghdad is not really the best place to have a cardiac event. I know you're surprised. I was surprised, but it's not really a good place. So the amount of time that it took for them to evacuate me from Iraq back to Germany, and then from Germany back to the States to Walter Reed, it took a week before they were able to get me through that cardiac event. Because of that, I had tremendous heart damage. And so I was able to remain in service, surprisingly. And then in 2011, I had a second heart attack. And at that point in time, the Army was like, hey, we're done with you. You're not going to be able to stay in any longer. We're going to medically retire you. And so I was going through the medical separation process. And during that process, I had another significant cardiac event that resulted in having a ICD implanted in my chest. And so it's basically a fancy pacemaker. It's a pacemaker defibrillator that I've got up in my chest that, keeps my heart in the proper rhythm and keeps me going. Cool thing about it is my newest one has Bluetooth. So I can connect to it. I'm still trying to figure out how to get my Spotify account to connect to it so I can play some music. But and so the big thing for me was, after that surgery and being separated or being retired from the Army, it was the challenge of having to reinvent myself. And that's the challenge that so many guys go through when they separate from service is, for so long when you're in the military, from the time you go to basic, you are told and you're taught that you are unstoppable. You can do anything you set your mind to. You are the tip of the spear. You are a member of the most lethal fighting force in the world. And all of a sudden, the day you get that DD-214 and you're medically separated, you're medically retired, you're not worth it anymore. You no longer have that value. And that is a significant mental event that we don't give veterans enough credit for having to navigate that process. And so with me, going through that and realizing that, physically I'm not the same guy I had been, because physically I'm not the same guy I used to be. Mentally, I wasn't the same guy. And, it resulted in, significant depression. There was the depression, anxiety. And, during that process, I was like, man, I've got to figure out something else to do with my life. I had taken up bass fishing, had a couple of buddies that, took me out bass fishing a lot. And, I was really getting into that. And I was at the point I was getting ready to drop 50 grand on a bass boat. And all of a sudden I saw this video of Tucker Gott flying to 15,000 feet. And I was like, man, that's incredible that this kid can fly up to 15,000 feet. And so I started following the rabbit hole. And for me, and I'll be honest with folks, it was completely selfish. I started doing searches for veteran organizations that would help me learn how to fly these things. And, it was for me. I was like, hey, I want to learn how to fly these things. Didn't have any thought about, helping anybody else out. But then I realized there were no organizations to do it. And what I found is that there's so many organizations out there for veterans, but the vast majority of them are for combat wounded, combat disabled veterans. And so if you're a guy like me that had an illness or a medical condition that was not combat related, you fall through the cracks. You're not eligible. And, so I kind of took that personally. I was like, man, that's kind of screwed up that there aren't these programs. I'm going through the same stuff a guy that gets hit by an IED would go through. I mean, I'm having the exact same reactions to things. I have a lot of the same experiences that they do, but I didn't lose a limb or I didn't get hit by shrapnel. And so I was kind of like, man, there needs to be an organization that, has a broader net, to capture more of these individuals. And the more I started thinking about it, I was like, man, let me go ahead and start one. I'll be that guy. And so I actually incorporated about 7 months before I started training. And so I went about it completely backwards. But my belief was that if this sport could help me, it could help somebody else. And so I paid for my own training out of my own pocket. And the first 2 candidates I sponsored were completely out of my pocket. And what that did is that showed, one, that I was actually serious about this. But also it provided the proof of concept that, my idea could work. And I was lucky enough that people started to buy in and people started to believe in me and people started to believe in the mission. And so we started getting the donations and we've received a couple of grants at this point. And, we're 25 alumni in and we've got a couple of guys standing by to get into the pipeline ready to go. So that's kind of where we came from and where we're at now.
Right on, man. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And I'll tell you this, you've heard me say Resurgence PPG rocks, and it really does. And I'll tell you that other than Eric, you're the only charity I donate to.
God bless you.
No, seriously, I believe in what you're doing there, and I thank you for what you're doing.
I appreciate it. So I see Josh Perry has a question.
Yes.
And so I started foot launching. And so one of my main goals with Resurgence is demonstrating the accessibility of the sport, because a lot of people, like Ben's situation, there are a lot of folks that you sit there and say, hey, we have an alumni that's a paraplegic, but he's able to foot launch. They freak out about it. We've sponsored Robert Bruce, who's a double amputee. He's on 2 prosthetic legs. He foot launches. Got Sean Michael Horn, who's a single leg amputee. He foot launches. And, in my case, the question was about my ICD and whether it prevented me from foot launching it. And it doesn't. That's why I've got my trike rating now, but I very rarely fly the trike. It's, and for me, it is all about breaking those misconceptions on what the adaptive community is able to do. And so, we've got a candidate that we're looking at, sponsoring that is a paraplegic and a single leg amputee. That's going to be an incredible story for people to see. But, at the same time, I want people to look at us and say, wow, if those guys can do it, I can do it. And I want people to take that positive message away and, make a change in their life and do something positive for themselves.
Right. Brian, do you have any questions?
He's on mute.
You're on mute, Brian.
Gotcha.
But he sounds really good.
Yeah.
That was a great question.
Never
Great
sounded
question,
better,
Brian.
right?
Yeah. And what I would say to that is actually feed your puppy branded food. Don't switch to adult food until it gets to the right age, because you don't want it's red, right?
That's 18 months, right?
Yeah, something like that. So, just follow the instructions and your puppy will turn into a beautiful full-grown dog.
See, that's the problem. He doesn't follow my instructions all the time.
Oh no, you have to set those boundaries. They're like children. I've got a golden retriever as well. I know what it's like.
Oh man, he's a mess. Yeah, he's such a good dog. He's almost 80 pounds now. So
Wow.
Yeah, our golden is 120.
Oh wow.
She's
I've
thick.
never had a dog that big.
She's like her dad.
But this show is not about me or about Red. This show is about Ben and Todd and what they do. And just listen to Todd's story there. Anyway, brought out some emotions and to know what he's been through and talk to some of his other candidates and what they've been through. And, we've all got our problems in life. I've had issues with my foot. We all think our problems are the worst, but when I hear what some of these other people have been through, it really just makes me step back and think, I really don't have it bad. And to be able to get these guys into the air, to do one of the coolest things in the world, in my opinion, that anybody could do, no matter what your problems are, you get up there and they're gone. And for you to be able to bring that to other people, especially disabled veterans, I look up to you, Todd, for sure.
Well, I appreciate that. And to your point, it's something that it kind of hit me talking about, my story and the story of some of the other alumni. If anybody that's listening to this, if they see the tent set up at a fly-in and they see a number of us sitting around and we're shooting the breeze and we're joking, please feel welcome to come sit with us. Come sit in, listen to what we're talking about, listen to how we interact with each other. Because I can tell you, each one of the alumni that we have, they each have an incredible story, on their own merits. But the thing that's amazing about it, we could all, sit there and just be in amazement and be in awe at what these guys have been through. But when we're sitting around the campfire and we realize we've all kind of been through the same thing, we all have kind of the same experiences, and it's just a bunch of idiots having a good time. And, it really does solidify that brotherhood. And, I just ask people, come hang out with us, hang out with the guys, learn their stories, learn a little bit about us. And, you'll see that this whole experience is so much more than flying.
So I would like to hear Ben's story and kind of from start to finish and everything in between.
All right. So I guess, I've been flying since 2013. I first learned to foot launch in 2013 up here in Wisconsin because it was cool. I saw, all the videos of powered paragliding going back to, early 2000s, because from a very young age, I was always interested in aviation, specifically amateur aviation. And I don't know why it was specifically that, but I think it was probably, I was probably 7 or 8 and caught a Discovery Channel documentary or whatever on ultralight flyers. It was about people that had built their own planes and used it to travel across the country. And I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. So, of course, I promptly took all the scrap wood that we had in the backyard and garage and tried to make my own airplane, which never flew. But it was the thought that counts. I enlisted in the military when I was 21, and I served in both Iraq and Afghanistan. I did 12 months in Iraq, 15 months of Afghanistan. I have a bunch of TDY, temporary duty assignments through various other wonderful places in this world. And I was active duty for a while. Then I went to Army National Guard. And in 2016, I was a sergeant in the Army National Guard. I'm relatively successful on the civilian side of things. And I had a bad back. Go figure, a guy that spent most of his career in combat arms has a bad back. So the problem with anything back related is, doctor's going to want an MRI. Well, I can't have an MRI because I have shrapnel in me. So being around a very large magnet just doesn't sound like a really good idea. So the doctor ordered what's called a CT myelogram. And that's what they used to use to image backs before we had MRIs, or in cases where we can't use an MRI, like in my case. The procedure is simple. It's dye injected into your spinal column, and then they run you under a CT to get some more detailed imaging, specifically of the spaces between your vertebrae, where the discs sit. I had one of these before. They suck. They're not fun. I wouldn't willingly say, sure, yeah, let's do one of these, but they're not the worst in the world. Well, this time around, which I still remember the date, it was August 8th, 2016. This time around, they injected the dye into my spine, and something didn't feel right. Something was horribly wrong. It was the worst pain of my life. And this was at the VA. And they still continued with the procedure. I told them to stop, and they didn't. And then I got taken back to an outpatient recovery room in radiology, and they spent the next 3 hours trying to force me to leave the hospital by bribing me with first was Tylenol with codeine, then it was Vicodin, then it was Percocet. Then they were going to look and see about getting me fentanyl patches for my back, which that's like the nuclear option. And I ended up getting admitted for pain control. And by that time, I couldn't stand. My legs felt like they were really heavy. Like they felt very dull. Over the next 12 hours of the hospital, more and more my body shut down. I couldn't pee on my own by the next morning. I couldn't feel anything in my legs. I was either non-reflexive or hyper-reflexive. It varied from one moment to the next. So my reflexes were all jacked up. And over the next 4 days, I had medical doctor after medical doctor come in and essentially tell me that I was manifesting my symptoms. And it was just my response to pain, and it would go away soon. And I have to force myself to stand and all this stuff. Well, I was not satisfied with the level of care I was receiving at the VA, so I fought and won my fight to get transferred to Frederick Hospital, this big level 1 trauma facility in Wisconsin. And I get to Frederick, and I was in such poor condition. And after I was only in the hospital for 4 days, but you would have thought I was in a long-term care facility for 2 months. I was not good. I was dirty. I had these anti-bed sore dressings on, which really frankly confused the emergency room staff at Frederick. And they said, all right, screw it. Doesn't matter what he came here with. Just start over, re-triage him. So I talked to a specialist there, and they said, yeah, you have a spinal injury. You have what we believe is an incomplete spinal cord injury. Something happened with the CT myelogram. Not sure what it is, but we need to treat the inflammation in your spine now. Here's some really dangerous medication that's going to absolutely damage your muscles and might shut down your heart, but would you like a chance at walking again? Yes, please give it to me in this vein right here. So we did that. And then I spent the next month in the hospital in the spinal cord injury unit at Frederick, which was absolutely outstanding and absolutely revolutionary, state of the art, doing intense physical therapy. And I was able to stand, and I was able to kind of wobble back and forth with a walker while suspended from a ceiling. But essentially, after a month in the hospital, they're like, it's time to go home and continue your therapy, which was really weird. I was newly married. I got married while in the hospital, actually, when I was at the VA and getting worse every day. However, my wife at the time, I'm no longer married, when I came home from the hospital and she realized that I wasn't going to get better, or at least not anytime soon, she pretty much checked out right away. So that was pretty rough. I had lost my job 2 weeks after getting out of the hospital, my civilian job, inexplicably, which was super shocking, which also took my civilian insurance with it. I didn't maintain military insurance at the time. So I was kind of screwed. I tried to transfer my care for my physical therapy back to the VA, since I didn't have private insurance anymore. And the VA denied my physical therapy consults as not medically necessary. And it stayed this way for about 18 months. In those 18 months, I created a business while laid up in a bed. I found a way to make ends meet, and then I went after the Army National Guard and said, what are you doing with me? The Army was like, well, normally we would give you a full year. It's been about 6 months of being on this physical profile. Given the extent of your injury, we think it's probably better if we move towards a medical discharge. So I knew, kind of like in Todd's situation, I was headed for a med board, but it was a fight for me because I didn't want a medical discharge. I wanted to be medically retired. If an injury incurred in your service substantially, or something substantially related to an injury incurred in service, negatively impacts your medical fitness to where you're no longer retainable as a soldier, the Army is obligated to retire you, since essentially it's their fault. Whereas a discharge would be like, we're excusing you from your military obligations because of this medical reason. It doesn't come along with the same benefits. I wanted retirement. So I fought for about a year and a half to get retired from the military. And before the Army had actually given me a date for my hearing on whether or not to retire me, I got a phone call from Todd, and I thought it was a prank. He told me about Resurgence PPG. I was vaguely familiar with them, probably from a Tucker Got video. And he told me that he had received my nomination packet and just received a donation and wanted to sponsor me to relearn how to fly a powered paraglider. He was aware of the fact that I was already a paramotor pilot. He was aware of my injury and a little bit of my story, and wanted to see how I felt about relearning to fly a wheeled powered paraglider. Once I verified that this was not a prank, and that I was not hallucinating in some type of weird, thing, I was like, yeah, absolutely, I'm on board. Yeah, absolutely, I want to do it. I've been a foot launcher before. After my spinal cord injury, I never thought I would fly again. I'm in and out of a wheelchair. I can kind of move around. This is where my level of ability currently is. And Todd said he'd work with me and he'd be in touch. And so we stayed in touch for a couple of months and then finally settled on, I believe it was October of 2018. I think it was. I'd have to go back and check and see. It may have been earlier than that. But I went down to Florida. I met up with Eric DeFore. And Eric DeFore is an absolute legend in this sport. And he is very much a French-Canadian drill sergeant. He has a very unique personality. And he is a very direct, intensely focused teacher. And that is the best way that I can describe Eric DeFore. And I love Eric DeFore dearly because he helped get me back in the sky. When I was down there, I didn't bring my wheelchair because I was getting around okay with some canes. And Eric's first thing he asked me was, you need those things to walk? And I'm like, yeah, kind of. I kind of do. He's like, well, can you walk without them? I'm like, for a little bit, kind of here and there. He goes, okay, well, we're going to test that. I'm like, okay. If my physical therapist knew what Eric DeFore did to me for 2 weeks, I don't know if they'd be shockingly proud of me for enduring that or thinking that Eric is a monster, because he had me out there with a cane trying to kite a wing in high wind conditions, even though it's a small wing. He had me trying to balance a wing overhead and then let go of my cane and let the wing carry my weight. So I don't need a cane. it was really some very revolutionary novel concepts that Eric was talking about. I think he may have actually discovered a new therapy for people with lower section mobility disorders, which I actually say that not even joking, because he pushed me through a lot of stuff. And I had like 25 or 26 flights in that 2-week period that I was down there. And what was funny to me is before my injury, when I first learned to fly, I thought it was cool, but I didn't do it that often. I owned my own equipment, but I just never really like felt the motivation to like pack up all my stuff and throw my paramotor in the back of my truck and go fly somewhere. And I was afraid of what my family would think of me. So I just like did it in secret, like the guy that secretly skydives. It was stupid. But then when my injury happened, I thought, oh, well, I really enjoyed doing that. I thought I would never do it again. So when I was able to actually start doing it again, I was hooked. I came home and I started pinching pennies, and I got a appropriately sized PPG quad. I didn't like the trikes because I know I can tip those over pretty easily, and I went with a quad, and it was really good for me because even when I was still in my wheelchair, I still had residual hip function, so I could push. I couldn't necessarily pull. So when steering a trike, it was very difficult. But when steering a quad, my legs at a natural spread could just simply push in the direction I needed to go. So it made it a lot easier for me to control. And after I got my new quad, and thanks to Blackhawk Paramotor, by the way, because they were super awesome. I've had 4 Blackhawk Paramotors in my time as a pilot, all outstanding, all great customer service. But this last time around, Mike Robinson really went the extra mile to really make it special for me, and I was really appreciative of it. I got my quad. I put it together with my buddy Sam Thier of Wisconsin Flight Sports. Check out wisconsinflightsports.com. They're great guys if you're in the area. And then Sam and I rolled my unit out. I hobbled over with my cane and set my wing up all by myself. And I took off and I flew again, by myself about 8 months after I finished training with Eric DeFore. And I was like, I've made it. I'm back in the sky. I've done this myself. I got here myself. And I don't need to be under the supervision of an instructor anymore. I can clearly do this by myself, which was a very good sense of validation for me. And then as I've progressed physically, I've gotten better. I no longer walk with a cane, so I get around a lot better. My limp is less and less pronounced as time goes on. And I'm very grateful that a little over a year ago, November of 2020, at a Resurgence reunion, I pulled off my first foot launch in 6 years. I was actually able, from being in a wheelchair to now foot launching again. It wasn't a very long flight, and I kind of sort of broke my prop on landing, but I still pulled it off. I had a lot of help. I had Mike Cotter from Fly My PPG there. We had Mark Amundsen. We had Todd. We had a whole bunch of other people there that were pulling for me and just really, really supported me as a community to say, Ben, you're already a pilot. You can already fly a quad. If foot launching is that important to you, we're going to make it happen for you. You're going to pull it off on this trip. And it just so happened that one night the stars aligned or the winds were right and everything was in the right direction. And there's a cool video of it on my YouTube channel. It's a small snippet of it, but there's so much that goes into that flight. There was so much building up to that because, for a long time I thought I'll never do this again. But when I pulled it off, it was like this emotional wave that came over me when I was flying around, and I only took one lap and then I landed, busted my prop, and everyone was running to come check on me to make sure I was okay. And it was funny, as a woman we were with asked if I could feel my legs. I'm like, no. She's like, oh my God, really? I'm like, yeah, well, I couldn't before, so it's fine. Spinal cord injury humor that most people don't understand. We like dark humor. It's like the one-legged guy. It's like, well, I get half off when I buy shoes now, but no one understands that. But so I pulled that off, and it was super cool. But to Todd's point, Resurgence PPG is more than just a hobby or a sport. When you are an alumni, a member of Resurgence PPG, you are really part of a community again. And that is a community or a sense of community that many of us deeply miss from service. And it is something that the vast majority of us desperately crave in everything that we do. And while you can find a sense of community in anything. I mean, hell, the paramotor community is a great community, but it's not the same. And in Resurgence PPG, the community that we found in each other is one of shared experiences, of shared tastes. I mean, if you think about it, we're a bunch of broken veterans that like to fly under a cocktail napkin. I mean, we've got everything in common that we need to have in common. We swore an oath to this country one day and didn't ask anything in return. We got some pretty good benefits out of it, and we're very appreciative of it. But we're just simple people. We just like to be left alone. We like to have fun. And we've found commonality in this shared sport that we have, which is, however you want to say it. It's like, if you think you're crazy, you're not crazy till you fly with a lawnmower and engine under a giant cocktail napkin. That's kind of what we do. There's obviously a lot more to it than that. But the community has really been very beneficial. Especially to me. I went through some really rough times with when my marriage ended, and I was part of the Resurgence community. I went through some really rough times when I had to close my business, and I was part of the Resurgence community. More so recently, I had some personal troubles. Some personal demons were really hard to ignore, and the community was there for me. In fact, I am known so intimately by members of the community that, in the recent history, I was having a rough time, and by very subtle cues I was dropping, someone took it upon themselves to call the Veterans Crisis Line and have them reach out to me. It was actually very, very good that they did. And that's something that can only happen when you truly have a rapport and an intimate knowledge of another human.
Nice. I'm reading the comments and kind of posting them when you guys were talking. And it's like everything is just such a positive, comment that's out there. It's really cool hearing your story. Hey, Mark from Paralife PPG, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How y'all doing?
Good. Got any questions for these two gentlemen?
Well, I
I got
definitely.
one.
Go ahead,
Go
Brian.
ahead. Aha. All right, I win. Ben, where are you at, man?
I'm about a half hour west of Milwaukee in Wisconsin.
Okay. All right. How far is that from you, Eric?
He's about 3 hours, 3.5 hours, maybe 4, south of us. So.
Oh, it's probably a lot warmer down there then, huh?
Oh yeah, he's a Southern boy. They're in short.
Yeah, I'm a Southerner. Oh, Todd likes to point out that I am technically still north of Canada's most southern point. Yep. He is right about that.
Thank you. Yeah. You almost are Canadian because of that.
No, we're still superior, but I mean, what do I know?
You train with a Canadian. You live north of a Canadian city. I mean, come on.
A Canadian town, not a city, but it's like a town or maybe even a village. But
they have more than 2 stoplights, man.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that's not true. Wikipedia says you're lying. Eric, are you closer to the Green Bay area, or are you like northwest?
So we are between Wausau and Minocqua, so in Tomahawk. So do you know where Wausau is?
Yes.
Okay, so we're about 40 minutes north of Wausau.
Okay, all right, I get it.
So, the trees stopped growing in Wausau. We're about 40 miles north of that. Okay. That's where you'll find us.
Okay, well, do you make it to Oshkosh?
I've never been to Oshkosh. I drove
Really?
by.
You live in this state, man.
I know. Wow. And we were going to go last year, but there was a fly-in that was happening. I don't remember which one.
It was called Air Venture. It's the largest fly-in in the world.
So I'm thinking we're going to go this year. Last year I looked at going to it and I just got so confused on the whole camping. Everything just I never understood it.
Well, you can always do what I do and cozy up with a vendor that has on-site camping privileges, and then squeeze your toy hauler next to theirs.
Bingo! I think that's what I'm going to have to do. Well,
I may or may not have done that this past year.
what I'll have to do is I'll have to keep in contact with you guys, and
Yeah.
maybe you guys can help me get in there. But no, I think it's an awesome thing that you're doing, Todd. It's you guys are how do you say it? An organization inside of an organization. I know what it's like to hang out with the guys that we hang out with at the fly-ins.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what it's like for you guys. So just it's unbelievable.
Well, we on more than one occasion we have consumed beverages out of prosthetic limbs. So whether it's a foot or a leg, shots have been taken.
Are these new?
Well, hang on.
Well,
Doesn't everybody have a prosthetic limb in their office?
I mean, I have limbs in my office. The prosthetic is kind of not a term that I would call them.
But yeah, so if you guys are interested in doing shots out of a foot, swing by the Resurgence tent.
There
There
may
you go.
You heard it here. You heard it here first on this show.
Right?
Das Boot.
There may or may not be a
Das
video
Boot.
of Mark Amundsen drinking out of a Resurgence alumni's prosthetic leg.
Yeah, so I know Brandon Vilt is in the chat, or he was earlier. He's actually our 25th alumni, and so he actually took his foot off during training down in Wauchula and ended up passing it around. And I have some horribly incriminating video and pictures of certain individuals partaking of some good whiskey out of a prosthetic foot. So
Good times.
yeah, I'm not saying it gets crazy or anything, but we will try to enjoy ourselves.
Right. All right. Mark, you got any questions?
I just wanted to make sure and say thank you to Todd and Ben both for their service, and any other veterans that are that listen to the show or watch it. I never served, and I sure do appreciate you guys that did.
Well, I appreciate it. And so one thing that I would be remiss if I didn't talk about it. There is actually a very large veteran community within the paramotor community. And obviously, not all of them are Resurgence guys. There are a lot of veterans out there that have gotten into the sport, on their own. But if you guys run into guys that are veterans, share some of the love with them as well. I mean, we have an interesting story because I put it front and center, and I try to get attention in multiple ways. But if you come across another paramotor pilot that's a veteran, share the love with those guys as well, because they've gone through the same kind of thing that we have. And just they weren't sponsored by us, but they're still part of that brotherhood, and the shared experiences and whatnot. So please, as you give us thanks, please give them thanks as well.
Right. Absolutely. And I know that, when we were at the fly-ins, you would just come right over and fill your plate up with food and sit down and eat right in front of us when we were okay.
I mean, now you're pulling out the fat jokes and, fat shaming me just because my shadow weighs more than Will. I mean, but but somebody, I don't know who it was, had mentioned that you guys had some food and, Shane was cooking, and, my whole thing is we're all in this together. We're about a community, and, I'm just as interested in learning y'all's stories as, you guys are about learning our alumni stories. I enjoy sitting around and listen to people give Brian a hard time because he tried to give a foot high five to a hay bale.
Oh, I did. I was successful.
Well, I don't think we can say it was successful when you aren't able to walk away cleanly.
I know. I know.
It all depends on how you rate success.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I
just try to keep a positive attitude about it.
So I had a buddy in high school that kind of did the same thing, but what he did is he reached his hand out the window doing about 60 miles an hour to high five a traffic cone.
Ooh.
And so he hit it. He got that traffic cone with his hand, but he also broke his hand.
The human body is way more fragile than we like to think it is.
Right.
And, it's amazing how quick those bones snap and pop, man.
Well, Brian,
story.
I will say though, you'd be surprised at how tough the human body actually is.
At healing, for sure, but
even at what it can endure, not even what it can. I've been shot 3 times and blown up 5 separate occasions.
Wow.
My body's not perfect, but it's still together.
Dude, you need to stop going to the range with those people because whoever you're going with, they can't shoot.
Well, actually, the third time I got shot was by a lieutenant in the back in a clearing barrel. So, Todd, that's one of your people.
It's not one of my people. He was in your unit.
No, he was from another unit. He was from a trans unit.
Oh, see, now you're bringing preferred pronouns and everything into it.
No,
Let's
transportation unit. You.
Okay. Let's clarify that one. Oh man, now, I don't even know how to follow with that. Obviously.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Completely derailed the whole show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a military saying that holds true in this context. It's just your mind will always quit before your body will. Don't underestimate your body.
I thought you were going to say, "Don't ask, don't tell." But
that too.
That is kind of the policy of Resurgence PPG. I've noticed it's kind of like we don't care. We're here for flying. Do you want to talk about flying? Yes, great. Let's talk about flying. Fine. It's one of great acceptance, which the majority of the paramotor community I think is very much like that as well too.
Right.
Well, I mean, and just to drive the point home about the brotherhood of Resurgence. One of the symptoms or one of the issues that comes up with guys that are dealing with PTSD, we, and I include myself in it, we tend to get angry about things a lot faster than the normal person does. And, sometimes this leaks itself into our group and it leaks itself into our relationships. And, when we've got normal life circumstances that are happening, that cause frustration, even within our group, we can get angry about things and we can get upset about things. And, Ben and I have had struggles, with our relationship. And, we've had some times where we've gone at it and we've gone at it pretty hard. But it's just the realization that, there are things that bother us and there are things that push their way into our lives and cause those issues. But the amazing thing about it is we're able to get past it. We're able to say, hey man, I still love you and I'm still there for you. And, whatever it was, I mean, I can't even tell you what the stuff was about. I just know that Ben and I, we've been at odds and we've butted heads. And, there's so many times that they'll be like, screw that guy. I'm not going to talk to him ever again. I'm going to unfriend him. But, for me and Ben, and I know other guys in our group, man, it definitely builds our bond a lot stronger. And, we realize that there is a connection and there is that support because, you can't get in an argument and, have the interactions that we've had with each other and then turn around and be like, hey man, we're all good. And, I'm still there for you and still love you. And, right. And it not mean anything. I mean, it really is incredible.
Right.
But Ben's
it's like family, man. You might not always get along with them, but you're always there for them.
It's something other than family, but
yeah,
more than friendship, if that makes sense. One of those things where like Todd had said, we've had people in the group that were just like not clicking with or like angry at. And a lot of times we're really good at collectively helping one another realize that that anger you may have towards another member is more or less anger you have towards yourself. And in some way, shape, or form, you're manifesting some type of self-doubt into how you treat other people. And it's rapid for a therapeutic sense because we're so clued into that because we know what we're doing. We're just bad at following our own advice. And we can snap someone back into reality really quickly, especially those of us that have really gotten to know each other. And, you know, you'll find in conversations if we could have like a resurgence experience of somebody experiencing our Discord chat or our Facebook Messenger chat and just read, no one pulls any punches, none. So it's like, you know, I mean, I don't know about the censoring thing on this channel, if I have to watch my mouth or not. I will. But someone will say, dude, you're kind of jacked up right now for this reason, and you're jacked up for thinking that. And it'll be like, I love you anyway, but you're wrong, and you're flat out wrong for this reason. And it'll be debated. And, you know, you're talking about people that are scattered all over this country, talking as if they're right next to each other. And it's funny when you see us actually get together at the reunions or the fly-ins that we collectively go to. It's like you think that have been best friends forever and have been talking since last week continuously, because no matter how much time splits us apart, when we are together, we are around each other. It's as if no time passed at all. And that's something that you cannot readily replace. It's not something that you can readily supplement in anything else. And, you know, there are no secrets from Resurgence alumni. We all have the same issues. We've all seen some stuff it's enough to make you old. We all have our own idiosyncrasies and our own issues, but we're all in it together. And we have this additional shared experience of being paramotor pilots, where we can talk about what type of freedom, and this is why Resurgence PPG's mission is so much more important. The gift of flight is incredibly liberating. I mean, it's one of the few recreational three-dimensional sports that you can partake in. You know, I like my motorcycles, but I can go left or right and forward, and that's it. Going backwards sucks. But with a powered paraglider, I can go up, I can go down, I can go left, I can go right. I can get in and I can go somewhere. I can take off from one airport and go land at another field. I could take off and go fly around a landmark like we did the Eye of Grande when we were at the reunion in Arizona. You know, and it's an escape from reality, but it's not an escape from reality, which sounds like I just completely contradicted myself. But it's an escape from the problems that life is bringing it. But you're not leaving reality. You're still enjoying nature as it was intended. You're still enjoying things that happen around you, and you're an active participant in life. You're still out there and you're talking to people. You're not introverted. You're not staying inside feeling sorry for yourself. You're out there. You're exposed. You're doing something.
Yeah. Angela has a question. If we have a friend suffering from PTSD and we wanted them to connect with Resurgence, how would we go about doing that?
So if you just want to have somebody connect with us, you can go to the Resurgence page. We have a contact form. You're basically just sending me an email, or you can just send me an email directly, resurgencepppg@gmail.com. And, you know, I can go ahead and reach out to them. If they're a veteran and you're wanting to get them involved in the sport, go through the nomination process, which we have a nomination page on our website. Fill out the nomination page and submit it. You know, and the challenge with that is that we are on a significant waiting list. Last time I looked, we were at 70 candidates. And so I got 70 guys that are in need of support. We just hit our 25th alumni, and that's taken almost 4 years. So doing the quick math, it's going to be a while before we're able to get through what we have in front of us right now. And so, if somebody is wanting support, or you feel there's somebody that truly needs the support, send a nomination. We don't select candidates from the time that the nomination came in. And what I mean by that is, the first 15 on the list may not have as compelling a story as the guy that's number 16. The guy that's number 27, might need intervention, might need something positive to happen sooner than number 18. So just because somebody shows up, number 72 on the list, doesn't mean that they're going to be the 72nd person that is sponsored or serviced. With that being said, what we've seen is that the vast majority of nominees that we're able to sponsor, their wait time is almost a year, just because of the time it takes us to get the funds to affect that next sponsorship. Whereas, the guys that we're looking at right now, I've had that money for 3 months. I'm working at, trying to schedule their training and getting instructors lined up. That's going to take at least another 6 to 8 weeks before the instructors will be online to help them out. So, even once I have the money and everything's in place, it's still almost a 5-month process just to get all the logistics works out before we are able to get somebody into class.
Could you explain the logistics that you're talking about? I mean, is it as far as?
Yeah. So for us, our program, we go ahead and we'll do the coordination with the school or instructor. We'll go ahead and make sure that the instructor in the school will be able to meet the needs of that candidate. Like Brandon Vilt, he needed a trike because of a high leg amputation. But with that, will the instructors be able to meet the need, because they realize that there's going to be that extra component of securing a leg or securing a foot to the trike? Are they going to be able to properly assess whether he can maneuver the trike? So those kind of details have to be projected. They have to be discussed and worked out ahead of time. Also, we go ahead and we provide the lodging for the candidates while they're going through the training. And so with that, we'll either set them up in a hotel for the 10 to 14 days at our expense, or we'll go ahead and, in Brandon's case, we've had a couple guys that we've done this with now. We'll actually do a RV share, and we will rent an RV that will be stationed on the airport that they're doing the training. So it allows them, full access 24/7 while they're there, to really get the full effect of the experience. We'll also go ahead and we'll pay the transportation fees for them to get from their home of record to the school and back. So if they drive their personal vehicle, we'll go ahead and cover their mileage. Or, we might purchase an airline ticket for them and cover the rental car, those kind of things. And then finally, we'll go ahead and provide a per diem for them that will cover their meals and incidental costs while they're going through the training. And what this does is it completely takes out any financial difficulties or financial concerns that these candidates might have when going through the training. So when we do the sponsorship, it costs these guys $0. And it's just our way to make sure that they're able to focus on getting training, becoming a part of the community, and, getting the most out of the experience before they go home. Any money or issues, related to the training, I'd much rather them focus on getting their own gear and, being able to stay in the sport.
That's just amazing. Go ahead, Brian.
Yep, I've got a question for Todd. You say you have a backlog of, say, 70 candidates. That's incredible. I know there's a lot of people out there that could use the help, but other than getting a bunch more candidates through the school, do you have any ways that you'd like to see Resurgence grow in the future?
Yeah. So there are a couple things. One of the big things is I really want to get our exposure and influence out on the West Coast to really pick up. We've done a pretty good job, or I think I've done a pretty good job of making sure that we're spreading out the candidates and the training as much as we can. And I say that because we've had guys, sponsored down in Florida, up to Michigan, out to Nebraska. Well, I mean, we've had guys sponsored out in Arizona and California as well. We just had a guy train with Chris Santa Croce in Utah. He lives up in Idaho. So I'm wanting to get more exposure out on the west side of the country, because the majority of our alumni right now are east of Kansas City. And so I'd like to see a larger impact out west. The other thing is we really want to get funding and donation so we can go ahead and purchase our own trike, a tandem trike, because myself and a couple other of our alumni that have been flying for a few years, we're at the point where, we can go ahead and get our trike exemption. And when we go to events, if we were to go to Bad Apples, Moody Air Force Base and Warner Robins are, just up the road. And, we can go ahead and get, veterans from those communities come out, and we can provide, tandem experience instruction flights ourselves, where we're not, having to work out deals with other instructors or other schools. And I think so from an impact standpoint, that will be an important step for us from a growth and maturity standpoint. The training side of actually going through a full PPG2 curriculum, that will always be done through other schools. We will never get into that business of us doing training in that regard, because I think that does a disservice to the entire community by us doing the training. But us doing tandem introductory flights, I think would be a huge benefit for us, just because it'll provide us the opportunity to have a wider reach. So those are kind of the two big things from a growth and development standpoint that we're looking at. The other thing is we're hoping to get more involved with the Department of Defense Warrior Games. And, we were supposed to go this past September to Disney World to act as an exhibition sport, if you will. But due to COVID, Disney canceled it. This coming year, it's supposed to be in San Antonio, Texas. And so we're working with the director of the Warrior Games right now to see if we'll be able to attend on the Army or on the Department of Defense's dime, to have some of our alumni go down there. And again, we would hope to be able to provide tandem flights and tandem experiences to the disabled and adaptive veterans that are there competing in the Warrior Games.
Todd, do you have a tandem rig?
I don't have a tandem rig. I've got a 38-meter wing that I can use.
I do,
but I don't have a tandem rig yet. So that's a big thing we're looking at. We've had a few trikes that have been donated, but those donations I end up turning around and passing them along to some of our alumni that are in need of equipment.
That's a question that I have is, how are you getting equipment? Are you getting new equipment? Is this used equipment? Are you getting equipment at cost because of the program?
We have been really, really lucky. It's kind of strange how the equipment piece has worked for us. We've had a couple schools that have donated equipment. Aviator PPG donated a motor to one of our guys, which was fantastic. Eric Farewell and Aviator has been a big proponent reaching out to their Aviator family, and encouraging folks that when they're upgrading equipment, that kind of thing, to go ahead and donate to us. And there was a couple out in California, a doctor and a wife, that got into the sport, bought the full kit, wings, whole bit. And they realized that because their medical practice and where they lived, just outside of San Francisco, it was just too time consuming for them to get out of the city with their gear to get flying. And so he donated 2 wings to us. He donated an almost brand new Nitro 200 to us. So we were able to pass that along. A couple of the trikes that we've gotten, one gentleman that donated it, it was actually his partners who had come down with cancer and had passed away. And we got that trike, and it had 6 hours on it. Another gentleman had a heart transplant and was not able to continue in the sport, and went ahead and donated his trike. And that trike had 8 hours on it when we got it. So from a motor standpoint, we have been extremely lucky in the equipment that has been donated. We've gotten really good equipment. As far as wing go, man, we've had the whole gamut. Some of them have been really, really good, solid wings that we're able to pass on to guys. I've got 5 wings that are currently with Shannon Michael at Four Winds PPG. She's doing all the inspections and repairs on them, and she'll contact me, and she's like, "Do you really want to keep this wing?" And so it's some of the wings are, we were happy to get the trash out of somebody's garage, and so it just moved to us. In other cases, we're able to get some pretty solid stuff that we're able to pass on to our guys, and it's been such a huge benefit to our alumni to allow them to stay in the sport while they're waiting to buy their own brand new stuff.
Nice. Now, where would people can donate right on the Resurgence PPG webpage?
Correct.
Website. Where else? What other avenues is there out there that you are getting the funding? From, I know that Amazon.
So yeah, Amazon Smile. If individuals have an Amazon account, they can go to smile.amazon.com, and they can go into their profile preferences, and they can do a search for preferred charities to donate to, and they can select Resurgence PPG. And on qualifying purchases, we get a percentage, and it's not a huge percentage. But through volume of purchases and the number of people involved, man, it's free money. It doesn't cost anybody anything. All they have to do is, select Resurgence. And, we're getting several hundreds of dollars a quarter that it doesn't cost anybody else a dime. And, that's money that's, hugely beneficial for us. Surprisingly, the other big thing, and this is where I challenge the viewers, is look at the companies that you work for. See if your company has a donation matching program, and see if you can contact that program manager, that program director for your company, and they'll typically send me an email. I'll have to send in a couple forms that they verify that we're a legit organization, and then if you make a donation to us through your program, they'll go ahead and match it, and they'll match up to a certain amount, and all of a sudden, boom, the money's doubled right there on the spot. Or if you happen to be you're a member of a family that's fortunate, and there's a trust fund that has a requirement for donations, please contact the board of directors for that trust fund, and, recommend that they make a donation to Resurgence. We've gotten several donations that way that have been enormously important in helping us grow and, get to the point that we are. So, those are the ways that we've been able to raise money to this point. Or if you just have a checkbook and you really want to write a really big check, you can write a check and you can mail it to me. And my address is right on the Resurgence page, so it'll come straight to my house.
So, Mark, instead of building that big house, you could just write out a check.
It's the least you can do, Mark.
Yeah.
You can live in a tiny house.
Yeah.
I do. I have for 5 years.
Donate your mortgage to Resurgence PPG. We love your entire mortgage, full balance.
Angela has a question. Is there volunteering opportunities?
Yes, there are, but it's difficult to kind of coordinate them. And what I mean by that is Will is part of a group, North Carolina pilot group on Facebook. And I have a charity event coming up April 1st here in North Carolina. And it's a fundraising event. We do it, well, we had been doing it twice a year, but they cut back and they're only doing it once a year now. And the past few events that we've gone to, we've flown demonstrations and whatnot for them. And we've been invited again. And so, in that regard, if there's a local North Carolina pilot that would like to come help us out and do some flying, because I don't have that many alumni here locally. So I need to scrape together some other pilots that would be willing to come help out. And usually when we go to other events, there's usually enough Resurgence alumni now that I'm starting to get them to do all the manual labor for me, which is nice. And so, as far as volunteering opportunities, my biggest thing is, just share our mission, share what we do and tell our story to other folks, and just be an advocate for us, and, see what you can do to, get somebody interested, and, see if you can point donations in our direction.
So the people that donate their wing or donate their motor or trike, now they can write that off on their taxes too.
So any donation over $250, if I receive it, I will generate a donation receipt with all of our IRS tax information on it, and they can use that to claim the deduction on their taxes. And so they'll file that receipt with their taxes. If a donation is made through the website, they should get a automatically generated message with the receipt that they can go ahead and use for that purpose. So, any donation, if it's equipment, if it's a motor or something like that, I'll end up having a conversation with the donor, and we'll discuss, okay, what is the fair market value that you believe it's worth? Because we cannot give a receipt for, full retail price. According to the IRS, it's, fair market value at the time of donation. And so we'll have a discussion, what do you think it's worth? Is that a reasonable amount that you're seeking credit for the donation? And we'll go ahead and generate the receipt at that point, and I'll mail it to them. And, hopefully that'll keep their accountants happy.
Nice. Will, Brian, Mark, questions?
I've got one more question, and this is pretty serious. What happens if you can't find a pair of shoes to match your wing?
Uh-oh.
So the big thing with that is, one, you'll be ridiculed endlessly. It's a fashion faux pas, but more importantly, your skills as a pilot will immediately diminish, because we all know that having shoes that match your wing, it's like at least a 25% increase in performance and efficiency as a pilot. So you have to ask yourself, you know, as you're going through your checklist, do you want to put yourself in such a hole that your performance has to be that much better simply because your shoes don't match?
So really,
don't understand how
it's a safety issue then, really, if you think about
it
it.
is, because you realize that your brain's only firing at 75% efficiency.
Yeah.
And we're already starting at a lower rate anyway because we're paramotor pilots. We may not have the best judgment to begin with, and we're already going to handicap ourselves by not having the appropriate equipment, which is matching shoes. You just don't want to do it.
Yeah. Right on. Well, thanks for clearing that up for us.
Oh, that's why I'm here. I'm here for all of your flying and fashion advice.
Well, I just want to say I make a pledge right here. Whenever I buy new gear, my old gear is going to go to Resurgence.
Oh, God bless you.
Right.
Hopefully it will pass the wing inspection because it's only got like 50 hours on it. So
that's awesome.
When I get that C wing, somebody's going to get that A wing.
That's awesome. And I tell you,
I love that A wing.
And the wing piece is really amazing. It's kind of funny. We have one wing that it was actually donated by Dave Ruff. It's a 28 meter or a 25 meter velocity core.
Oh, the town bicycle.
Say again?
The town bicycle.
The town bicycle. That thing has been passed around. And that's kind of the deal with these guys. When they get equipment, it's not their equipment forever and always for them to use and then go out and sell. It's their equipment to use and stay in the sport and, be a part of the community until they're ready to upgrade. And once they're ready to upgrade, the expectation is that they pass it on to another alumni. We're hoping to keep this stuff in circulation. But this wing, man, I think we're on the third or fourth alumni that has actually had it. And so it's been beat up. It's been ridden hard and it's been put up wet. But that old velocity core is doing great things for Resurgence right now.
That's awesome.
Hey, I know that guy.
Kelby.
What's up?
There's our boy Kelby Cox.
I thought he had a haircut the other day. It turned out he had his hair pulled off.
Had it pulled back in a ponytail.
Yeah, this is business mode.
Yeah, he's losing all kind of weight, doing great things, and letting his hair grow out like a hippie.
Yeah, it's like 50 pounds, wasn't it? Something like that. 48 pounds or
55 pounds now.
Hey, man, congratulations. Wow.
Yep. Soon we'll be able to say he's lost an entire will fly.
Yeah. Well, keep it up, man. You're doing great.
You're up to 25 candidates now. Kelby, which candidate were you in this line? Do you know?
Yeah, number 6.
Number 6?
Yep.
I was number 4.
Yeah, so the cool thing about it is, I'm wearing a jersey from our adventure wingman trip. And so if you see these long sleeve jerseys running around, it's either a person that was an alumni or was one of the instructors or somebody that actually came out on the trip with us and was supporting us during that adventure. And, so when we got these jerseys, the alumni were like, hey, that's really cool, but, we need something that's like just us, that really sets us apart. So we had a second set of jerseys done up, and on the alumni jerseys, on the left shoulder is a number, and that number is the number that they were sponsored. So
I'm a number.
Everybody, there's never ever any question about where they were in the sequencing of events, because all they have to do is look at their jersey and look at their left shoulder, and it tells them. So it's kind of cool, and it's kind of neat when you get the guys together and they start comparing numbers and sizes and all that. So
Well, men have a tendency to, in small groups, compare sizes.
You guys know, men compare everything.
Why'd you have to say small?
I don't think anyone said small.
Yeah, nobody said small. Nobody said
Small
small.
groups, right?
Sounds like a Freudian slip.
So when's the next Resurgence fly-in?
Oh, that's a good question. When is it, Todd?
Wow. God.
November?
So
really big surprise.
As we were going through the pre-show and you asked, what can we talk about and what can we not talk about? This was probably the one topic I should have shied away from. So not sure at this point. The main focus for me and where I want to focus Resurgence efforts is the Warrior Games in San Antonio this summer. But there are a lot of variables, and we still have to get approval from Department of Defense and the Warrior Games and whatnot. Absent of that, all the guys are pushing me to have a alumni reunion up in Montana. And so we're looking late summer, possibly. Everybody road tripping up to Montana.
Montana, yes.
Yeah. So, and this is where the guys, they harass me incessantly about this. They give me such a hard time because my focus and my efforts are on the Warrior Games in San Antonio. Everybody else wants to go to Montana. So I'm sitting here trying to fight with them and say, hey guys, we need to focus on San Antonio. And they're like, no, we want to go to Montana. So we have a friend that is a big supporter, a big contributor to Resurgence. He's also a paramotor pilot, but he has a very large ranch up in Montana that he's invited us to. And once our guys found out about being invited up there, it's been nonstop. It's every other day. I'm getting requests for us to head on up to Montana. So to Brandon's question, which I hate him because he had to bring that up.
I'm happy Brandon brought it up.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Brandon anymore.
I am. Brandon's like my favorite now.
Yeah, but I hope he breaks his pinky toe on his good foot.
No, I'll WD-40 his artificial leg for him.
Yeah. So funny thing, Brandon has this really amazing cybernetic prosthetic. It actually has Bluetooth connectivity, and he's able to change the settings and change the angles that it bends and all kinds of crazy stuff right on his phone. So it's unbelievable. That's another aspect of this whole experience is, seeing some of the technology that some of our guys have, and it's stuff that blows your mind. It's kind of a cool benefit to being involved with this stuff.
No, that's pretty cool.
So, but to answer the question, I don't have any firm dates on when the next Resurgence specific event or fly-in is going to be. The next fly-in that we're going to attend is going to be Bad Apples. That'll be the first big one that we're going to get to. And there are a number of others that we're going to try to get to this year that we weren't able to get to last year.
I'm going to try to do Bad Apples again this year too. It's usually a good Resurgence showing for that too.
Yeah. And thing is, Tim Gaskins is such a big supporter for us. I wasn't able to make it last year. My son was graduating from college.
I offered to help you with that, and you wouldn't take my help.
Yeah, calling it a bomb threat to a university.
I don't think I said the words bomb threat.
No, well, I'm hypothetically the course of action that might have been discussed, it would have been a bad idea. And Brian's like, you'd really say something like that? Yeah. Hey, we're sitting around a campfire. These are conversations that happen. So.
Yeah. So there's a lot of Once Upon a Time in Mexico type stories that are told.
I had a friend.
I heard bomb threat and almost hit the exit chat button. I was like, I don't know if I want to be in here.
No, that's just Todd talking crazy. He's an officer. He can't help it.
Yeah. It's my fault. But
yeah.
So, is there any one candidate that stands out over all of them, or I mean, is there any real memorable things that happened that you can share with us?
So yeah, I mean so candidates or alumni that stick out or events that stick out. Yes, we have plenty of stories about these things. About candidates, I think one of the things that I'm most proud about is, Kelby's here in the chat. Kelby has developed it's almost a cult following. There is such an appreciation for Kelby, on these shows, in these chats. People love Kelby, and especially
Kelby's a cult following for sure.
yeah, if you meet Kelby at a fly-in, you've been down to Bad Apples and you met him, everybody always talks to me and they always ask how Kelby's doing, and that's huge for me. That makes me feel so good. So I think it's cool that there's that following that Kelby has been able to generate for himself. Stories that are memorable. Big one was out at during our Arizona trip. Sean Michael Horn, single leg amputee. He's going flying out into the desert. They were doing a dedication ceremony at a flagpole in Glamis, and it was a tough day. It was windy conditions. It was almost midday. We're talking 11 o'clock. Thermals are hitting pretty good. He's not a terribly experienced pilot, but he takes off and he goes flying out to this dedication. And there are some very experienced pilots that were landing before him. And when I say very experienced, I'm talking like Ryan Southwell and Mark Amundsen and, those kind of guys. Well, Sean Michael comes in. He has a couple really horrendous approaches. He gets knocked around from thermals and whatnot. On his final approach, he kind of forces it in, and he crashed on the side of a side-by-side. He hammers this side-by-side hard. And how many people were out there, Ben?
I'd say well over 200.
Oh, there were into the thousands. There were 200 side-by-sides there.
Well, if you mean in the immediate area where he landed, yeah, easily 200 people. You want to go beyond that? Yeah, there's probably well over 1,000.
Yeah. So he had a crowd that he crashed in front of. And so the part that was terrible about it was when he hit the side-by-side, his prosthetic came back because it doesn't bend and it doesn't snap. But it came back and hit him in the face as he's crumpling into the side of this thing.
He did try to brace himself with his prosthetic rather than his God-given leg.
Yeah. And so he ended up taking a prosthetic to the face. Unbeknownst to him, when he hit, he broke his ankle.
On his remaining leg.
On his good leg. And so he cracked 3 ribs, and so he tries to play it off. He ends up, a couple days later, gets back home to Kentucky, finds all this stuff out. He's in college getting his pilot's license and aviation related certifications, and a guy that he's in school with was kind of messing around with him because now he's got a prosthetic, he has a broken ankle, he's on crutches with 3 cracked ribs and a bruise on his face. His buddy thinks it'd be funny to go ahead and act like he's going to trip him. Well, he fell, and when he fell, he went to brace himself, and he cracked his hand. He cracked every bone across his hand. So now the guy, after his crash and his fall, he has a prosthetic leg. He has a broken ankle on the good leg. He has a broken hand on one arm and 3 cracked ribs on the other side. So dude was walking around with one fully able functional limb on his body for a while. So,
poor guy.
There are stories like that. We've got other stories about guys getting lost, and Ben and I and Mike Cotter going out to try to find them. And
oh yeah, I'm gonna land on the side of a mountain. Which way is the sun? Is that where the sun went, Todd? Did the sun just set in the east, Todd? Yeah.
So, and because of these things, we obviously give each other call signs, and so our buddy that got lost, we call him Land Nav now. So, but yeah, we've got a lot of those kind of stories. Just different.
Everyone has
situations.
an affectionate nickname. I am 20 grit, i.e., slightly abrasive.
Very abrasive. But yeah, so I mean, if you want me to go on with stories, we can start pulling out stories, go all night long.
Well, that's pretty awesome. We'll have to do that at the fly-in. Like to hear some of them.
Oh yeah,
they're worthwhile.
Yes, they are.
So, any other questions before we do the Will Fly spinny wheel? Brian?
No, not
Kelby?
tonight.
Kelby, how you been doing?
Oh, I'm good.
Good.
I bet he is.
Will, any questions? He sounds
muted.
Sound great there, Will.
Dang
We
it.
agree.
The answer is no, Will.
Rookie mistake. So yeah, no, it's been a great show. Really enjoyed it, and I am ready with the wheel anytime.
Well, let's see. So, because this show was actually sponsored by Mark McElroy and Paralife PPG, he has 3 things that he would like to give away. One of them is one of his cups. One of them is one of his shirts, and one of his 14-inch stickers. And Todd from Resurgence, he has something that he would like to also give away. Todd, go ahead and tell him what it is.
And Tom, before I do that, I'm going to sign off for the night. So I'm going to excuse myself from the remainder of the show. But thank you so much for letting me come on as a Resurgence alumni and telling you a little bit about my story and how much Resurgence means to me. I really appreciate it.
Hey, Ben, thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for your service.
Thank you very much. You have yourself a great evening.
Thanks, brother.
See you, bad
Thanks,
apples,
man.
man.
Take care.
Too, man. Peace.
So what I've got, those that are familiar with paraorangeproducts.com and Chris and Larry DeChico, they had sent me a package of emergency wing bags. And so what I've got is it is a vacuum sealed wing bag. And the intent is that you place this in a pouch on your frame, or you put it under your seat board and you fly with it at all times. So if you have a motor out and you land out from the field, you can pull that out, pull it out of the vacuum pack seal, and put your wing in it. And that way it makes it so much easier to extract yourself from an off-field landing. So I got some of those from Para Orange Products, and they asked me to go ahead and either sell them or give them away. And so I figured this is a great opportunity to share the benefits that we've been provided with everybody else.
Nice. So see, Will can take it away, and while he's doing that, Tony Marzano has a question. He wants to know what your call sign is.
My call sign is Iron Man, and it's because I have the ICD in my chest that kind of keeps me alive. It's basically my arc reactor. So I'm Tony Stark and Stark Industries. So I'm Iron Man.
There you go. So Will, what are we spinning for? What's the first thing?
You want to do it by choice? You want to do a specific thing? That's up to you.
Do it. Why don't you do it by choice? Whoever wins, they can pick.
All right, here we go. Hope I got everyone's name. I believe I did. Ooh.
Oh, let's stop quick.
Go, Slow Days. Right on, man. So what do you want, Slow Days? Let us know in the chat.
Yep. And then, yeah, keep going there.
Okay, so Slow Days gets the first pick.
Slow Days will get the first pick.
All right.
And he gets to pick from a cup, a shirt, a sticker, or a stuff bag.
Yes.
Fitness 43. Number 2. Congratulations, man. All right, so we got one more, right? Or
2 more.
Okay, here we go. Oh, Hot Butter Steve, number 3.
Oh, so close,
First
man.
And
choice.
Johnson Q, you're so close.
Johnson almost got it.
All right. You tell me when to stop. Number 4. Uh-oh. Yeah, Kelby Cox. It's gonna be Kelby Cox.
No. Give that to somebody else. I don't need anything.
So what do you want us to respin, or do you want it,
Yeah.
Kelby?
Yeah, let somebody else get it.
Well, that's very nice of you. All right, so we're spinning again for number
4.
4. Oh man, Bill H. Golly, that was a close one, John. So Bill H is number 4.
Yep. And then we're waiting for Slow Days. Let's see.
So I don't think he selected what he wanted, did he?
No, he didn't.
Okay, so spin again.
No, we're just waiting for Slow Days to pick what he wants. Cup,
Okay,
shirt,
so we're
sticker,
done.
or emergency bag.
Okay.
So let's see. Oshkosh is when?
It's going to be the end of July.
End of July. Okay.
Son of Fun's coming up sooner. I think that's in April or May.
Correct. Yeah.
Nice. I've never been to Son of Fun. I'm going this year for the first time.
How is Sun and Fun as far as paramotor activity? Isn't that like an experimental type thing? I mean, are we welcome there?
I haven't been to Sun and Fun. I know typically the Paradigm team will have a performance. But at Oshkosh, they actually have the ultralight field, and they have certain hours set aside just for paramotors. So you can fly in the pattern at Oshkosh and say you've flown at AirVenture, that kind of thing. But is, like anything else that is so heavily trafficked, that's very strictly regulated. You have specific time frame, you have specific patterns to fly, and specific rules you need to follow while on the field. But if you follow those things, it is a cool experience. It's amazing to be up in the air flying around while you have other aircraft that are landing or departing, just hundreds of feet away from you. So it's a cool experience. I would encourage anybody that hasn't flown at an event like that to take the opportunity and go. But I can't speak to Sun and Fun. I haven't been.
Yeah. Is Ben in the chat? Does anybody know if he's in the chat? I haven't seen him there. I'm sorry, not Ben. Bill H. Because Slow Days says he wants Bill H to pick first. And then he'll take whatever's left. Slow Days says he'll take whatever's left.
Bill H is indeed still in the chat.
He is. Bill H, come on.
Yeah, Class Q Airspace, Johnson Q in the chat says, Sun and Fun for general PPG flying is really small. It's very limited days and hours, and the pattern is like 2 minutes up, around, and back. Yeah, my impression was it was mainly fixed wing as well. I'm in the market for an electric ultralight, and I heard that they will all be on display there, so that's why I'm going.
Johnson Q, that kind of brings back some memories. Something to do with moonshiners and a creek. Is that
where you walked on water?
It is indeed.
Only because they had shoes that matched his wing, though, Todd. Otherwise,
yeah.
he would totally sunk.
I would have sunk otherwise. That's exactly
right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That whole 25% performance gain.
So are we saying that Will needs that emergency bag?
No, I don't need the emergency bag. Huh? I didn't win it.
No, you just had a crew come out and help you out of the water there.
I did.
So.
I did. My buddies came to my rescue. Thank you, guys.
Well, there's Bill H. He's there. Bill, what do you want? A shirt? You won. Do you want a shirt, a sticker, a cup, or the emergency bag? Yeah, the shirt, the cup, and the sticker are all from Para Life, and they actually sponsored this show.
And I'm just messing with you, Johnson. Just messing with you, man.
Johnson does have a really good story about getting wet.
Bill says he'll take the emergency bag.
Okay.
Right on.
I'll just need to get his mailing address. So if he can either send me an email at resurgenceppg@gmail.com or shoot me a message on Facebook Messenger. I'll go ahead and get him one.
Who had the second pick? Was it
James EST43 was the yeah.
Yeah, he's one of our alumni. He wants a bag as well, so I'll send him one too.
Oh, that's cool.
So
let's see.
Oh, wow.
Third. Hot Buttered Steve. He's driving. Steve, what would you like?
Good night.
I know he's listening because of the fact that he isn't got anything else to do in the car right now.
So it sounds like all three items from Paralife are still on the table, right?
Yes.
He's got some pretty nice cups.
Yeah. Well, I think what they'll do is they'll reach out to us and tell them what they want, and then we'll get those things off to them. Yeah, there's a Paralife cup.
Just saying, I happen to get colors that match my wing, Todd. So if you don't have, a cup with colors that match your wing, you really, you ain't there yet. That's what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah. See, I'm so happy to see people, picking up on the whole fashion sense of the sport, because I came from a skydiving background, and, the custom jumpsuit that you would have made and your container system, I mean, it all had to look really good. Your helmet had to match, because it doesn't matter how good you are in the air. It matters how good you look on the ground. And that's what it's all about.
That's exactly right.
As long as you look good on the ground and you have an air of confidence about you, you will gain respect.
And I think they're going to put that in the 7th edition of the.
Yeah, I was actually talking to Jeff Goyne about it not too long ago.
Yeah,
he was down at Wauchula. He flew his plane down and was hanging out with us a couple weeks ago, and I talked to him about it. He's very fashion conscious and fashion forward. So I think it's not going to be a whole chapter, but it's probably going to be a at least a page.
Now, is it possible to partner up with the USPPA and to promote Resurgence?
Yeah, so NOAA has already reached out to us as the leadership has changed and NOAA's picked it up. They are getting ready to publish the first magazine for members, and they're doing a piece on Resurgence in the first magazine. So NOAA's already reached out to us, and we're looking at probably having an advertisement in the magazine going forward as well.
That's awesome. That's cool. When it comes down to the instructors, what do you look at when you're looking for instructors? I mean, I know that there's lots of instructors out there. So
yeah.
What are you looking at when it comes to an instructor?
So the big thing, obviously, they have to prescribe to the notion of the fashion sense. Their wings and shoes have to match, because if not, we can't handle that performance degradation from the instructors.
Right.
But no, seriously, the big thing for us, and we've found that because of the way we've modeled the program and the way we provide the funding for lodging, travel, and per diem, we've kind of forced ourselves into a situation where we have to have a boot camp style training program. And so we need to be able to sponsor the guys, for a 10 to 14 day period, unless they live very close to that school or instructor. And what I mean by that is if they're within like 30 minutes of the instructor, we can go ahead and do a program where they're training on the weekends. But so the big thing is we're trying to to get those instructors, those schools that have that boot camp style training and experience, just because of the geographic dispersion of where these nominees might live and where the instructors are. Just the challenge of marrying these guys together and having 5 hours of travel in between them and trying to do that every weekend. It'd just be too difficult for the way we've set things up. So that's a big thing. The other is, what is the reputation of the school and the instructor? There are a lot of great instructors in our community, and I will profess that, and I will be the first prophet of the instructor model that we have. We have really, really good instructors within our community. That being said, we also have some instructors that probably shouldn't be instructing. And, it's important, much like we try to vet the candidates, I also try to vet the instructors in the schools. We've done a pretty good job so far. And so it really is, it's a recommendation process. It's a vetting process. It's, what kind of experience do those instructors actually have? And can they meet the additional nuance need of our candidates? Because, let's face it, our guys are not the young, fit, in shape, student that every instructor wants. We're bringing in people that are broken. And so we need instructors that have experience to deal with that. That's kind of a big thing.
Right.
So that's the long story to a very short answer.
No, that's makes perfect sense. So, well, I definitely want to thank you guys for coming on the show. Thanks for your service, Todd.
Thank you.
Hey, can you explain one thing though? Why is everybody walking around with these shirts to say "Shut up, Todd"?
Oh man. So, hey, they're also the coffee mugs that say "Shut up, Todd." Coffee mugs that are now on the Resurgence store, and I'd be super happy if folks went on and bought a "Shut up, Todd" coffee mug. We've got a couple other coffee mugs that are really nice, but the "Shut up, Todd" one seems to get attention. So, as you've seen during the show tonight, I have a very dry sense of humor, a very dry approach to things. I'm not the most charismatic individual, but I do have a fairly quick wit. And so it all started when I was going through training at Aviator PPG, and Kyle Mooney was one of my instructors at the time. And, Kyle has a great sense of humor. He's super funny. But he would say things and he would get frustrated about stuff because I would always come back with a smart comment, and he would get frustrated by it. And so he just started saying, just shut up, Todd. Just if I open my mouth, he was just shut up, Todd. And so, it was kind of funny to start with, but it was just Kyle doing it. Well, all of a sudden as Aviator was growing and expanding, they brought Chris Garrison in, and all of a sudden one day, Chris had made a comment and I made a sharp jab back at him, and he turned and he said, "Shut up, Todd." And it's like, at that point, the lightning was in the bottle and the rocket ship took off. And next thing I know, everybody is just saying, "Shut up, Todd," whenever I'd open my mouth. And then it was Travis Burns' sister-in-law had made up a shirt for him, and he was the first one with a shirt that actually said "Shut up, Todd" on it. And I was kind of shocked by it, but I was kind of like, wow, what's this all about? And Kyle Mooney's like, "Dude, you need to sell those shirts." And we were on a show that night, I forget what show it was, but Kyle's like, "Dude, you need to sell those shirts." So I went on, while we were on the show, I go on the website and I go ahead and design the shirt real quick and throw some text on there and plop it on there for sale, and immediately started selling those shirts. And
Nice.
So I'm like, hey, we're making money off of it.
Right.
But the weird thing about it is I'm super cool. If we've met before and we've talked or we've chatted on Facebook or something, and you're like, hey, shut up, Todd, or, if Will or Brian, they're walking around with a shut up, Todd shirt. Hey, that's cool. They kind of get the joke. We're all in it together. Where it's weird is when I see an order come in for somebody I don't know. Somebody I have no clue who they are. And they're just ordering a shut up, Todd shirt. I'm like, what did I do to you?
Right.
What in the world? So yeah, it has turned into a crazy monster. But the fact that we have sold more Shut Up Todd coffee mugs than any other coffee mug, all that means is I've got to keep them because they're making more money than anything else. So,
and that's what it's about, is making money.
that's what to the detriment of my self-confidence and my own self-perception. It's all about raising money for the cause and for our candidates.
My buddy Darren Locklear, I know you know him, but he was proudly showing off his Shut Up Todd coffee mug the other day.
Yeah. So I got to give it, a lot of people don't know, Darren has been a big supporter of Resurgence, and I'm fortunate to call him a friend, and I love seeing what he's doing with Carolina PPG. It was 3 years ago when I was heading out. We were sponsoring Robert Bruce out in California, and I had lined up a trailer to take my stuff out there. And because at the time Resurgence did not own their own trailer, and the coordination fell through. And so I got on Facebook and I put a message out. I'm like, hey, I need a trailer from somebody, because renting a trailer for a month and taking it cross country was going to be stupid expensive. And at the time, Darren didn't know me. I didn't know him. And he just responded. He's like, dude, I got a trailer for you. And I'm like, I'm going to need it for at least a month. And he says, you might want to put tires on it, but you're free to have it. And so I went and picked it up from his dad's house and put a new set of tires on it and drove that sucker out to California and back. And it was awesome. And, it's one of those moments that you see an organization start to build and start to gain confidence when people are willing to step up and help you out like that. And Darren was one of those guys very early on that was taking care of us. So got a lot of respect for Darren.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. That's where the paramotor community, that's where you stand together. Anybody needs help, we're always there. That's what's pretty good. Will, why don't you spin again if Slow Days wants to pick out something? He can, and go ahead and spin again. We can't seem to get an answer from Steve.
All right.
So go ahead and spin that again.
There we go. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. Spinning it again. Who's it gonna be? Uh-oh, Josh Perry.
There you go, Josh.
Right on, man.
Haha. Well, he's in the chat.
Yep.
So does he get to pick, or
he can pick? I see that Slow Days wants the coffee mug, so good deal.
Nice.
And what does Josh get to pick from? What are his choices?
His choices are the sticker or the shirt.
And what shirt is this? Is this the Paralife shirt?
Paralife shirt.
Oh man, oh man, that is the most comfortable shirt there is.
Right here, the Paralife shirt.
I'm sitting right here.
Oh. Yeah. There's a Shut Up Todd shirt on the market too, by the way, y'all.
Yeah, right.
So that's
But I
great.
haven't worn one, and I have to say the Paralife ones are very comfortable.
Yes, they are.
So, well, I want to thank everybody out there, that was in the arms or the services to, for what they've done. My father-in-law, Leroy, he served in the Air Force. Thank you for that. Say hi to Patty and then my parents. So, Todd, where can people find you on the internet?
Facebook, we're at just look up Resurgence PPG. Same as Instagram, which I'm not great with social media, but we do have a presence on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Hopefully, I try to get everything to cross post at work. Sometimes it doesn't, other times. So we're there. If they want to look at our website, resurgenceppg.com, or they can go to ppgvets.com and it'll redirect them right to the Resurgence page.
Well, very good. Kelby, where can we find you?
Macon, Georgia.
I don't have any idea. I got a couple Facebooks and I can't remember any of the passwords, and
we can find you at the gym working out.
Yeah.
There you go.
He'll be at kickboxing class.
Right, exactly. And Brian, where can we find you?
Yeah, you can find me at ppgbrian.com. Takes you to my YouTube channel. I have Facebook, but I pretty much never check it. So you can friend me, and eventually I will find it.
There you go. And Will?
You can find me on YouTube under Will Fly or willflyppg.com. Great show tonight. Thanks for helping us out with it.
Yeah, thank you, Todd.
No, thank you guys for the invite.
Todd. Yeah, Kelby and Ben, I appreciate you guys coming on the show. If anybody doesn't have anything else, I'll say goodbye. You can find us here on Tuesday Night Hangout, ppglear.com, with all of our buddies, and we will see you guys next week. So y'all take care. Thank you very much.